According to James K. Karlstrom, who was at the time the assistant director of New York office of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, quote, unlike local arrests and prosecutions that often result in plea bargains and short jail terms, these indictments called for mandatory life terms without the possibility of parole, end quote. Some reports stated that as the gang's so-called kingpin, Mr. Griffin, who was rearrested in his jail cell at the Federal Metropolitan Correctional Center, could face the death penalty. What set you aside from the rest of your team as a candidate for the death penalty?
Because of the charges. I had an 848.
You were the only one? You had an 848 by yourself?
CCE, yeah.
Yeah, CCE by yourself. You had a continuing criminal enterprise. An enterprise,
because
by definition, incorporates more than one person.
Right, because they added up the drugs that we were selling up and down the East Coast from, you know what I'm saying, from New York all the way to Alabama, Delaware, Virginia, you know what I'm saying, Carolina. They add that up, and I had more. Well, they said I had more than 5 to 10 people under me that I command.
That's the prerequisite for being a kingpin.
Right.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know that. There's a lot of people that got that. You got a guy on every block, especially during the time we was running around. There was a guy on every block that was hitting somebody who was hitting 2 other people, who was giving work to 3 other people. There you go.
Yeah.
You know? The 10 defendants were charged with 15 murders and 9 attempted murders, 5 of them bystanders who were seriously wounded by indiscriminate gang gunfire. They were also charged with armed robberies and running a multi-million-dollar crack cocaine business, distributing hundreds of pounds of cocaine and crack in Harlem, and opening a wholesale drug distribution network down the East Coast and into Alabama and Louisiana. Federal prosecutor Mary Jo White said, quote, the alleged enforcer of the group, nicknamed Homicide Lou, was arrested last year following a killing near Columbia University. Homicide Lou has been charged with murdering 10 people and attempting to kill 3 others, end quote. At the time, Detective Ray Mayer commented, quote, the lynch mob had reached maturity. It had wiped out its rivals on the streets of Harlem and was branching out. They had moved in on Maryland and even as far as North Carolina. One of the murders was in Alabama. Anyone cross them, watch out, end quote. Police also stated that, quote, members of the gang held court on the corner of 142nd Street and Lenox Avenue, wearing T-shirts that showed the silhouette of a man hanging from a tenement building and sported the name of the gang, end quote. The name lynch mob struck terror in the hearts of local residents who feared reprisal if they spoke with the police, Mayer said. The big break came in August of 1994 when Homicide Lou wandered out of the lynch mob's turf for a hit near Columbia University. The day students were moving in, Mayer said. Outside of their neighborhood, nobody ever heard of them, and people weren't afraid to step forward and talk. James Karlstrom, assistant director of the FBI's Manhattan office, said, we are treating the drug gangs much in the same way as we would organized crime like the mafia, and that will help nip them in the bud. Can you describe the day that the feds came for you for the lynch mob case? You were locked at that time when they came for you that case. You was already sitting for a gun beef, right? Federal gun beef.
Yeah.
Right. So you were in your cell. I know you must have known.
No, I wasn't rearrested. I mean, that's something that they put in the paper to satisfy society. But they never called me down and rearrest me, fingerprint me, and say, you know what I'm saying? This is the new charges that you get. But what they did when my next court date came, they presented more co-defendants as well as more charges. You know what I'm saying?
So when your next court date came, that was on your gun charge that you were already sitting on.
Right, but even then I wasn't really I was facing a conspiracy over my gun charge. You know what I'm saying?
How's that?
A conspiracy that I just so happen to be, just say like, if I'm someplace where you doing business with this person, I just so happen to be there. Regardless if I know what's going on, what you passed in that bag, and when he passed, I was just there. So therefore, that made me a part of the conspiracy. You know what I'm saying? So that was my next charge after when my co-defendants came. But then after that, you know, I guess they must have realized that what these feds had, even though everybody was on minor charges, you know what I'm saying, they ran the charges up themselves. You know what I'm saying? Because you know that's how MC...
The feds ran the charges up.
No, my co-defendants
co-defendants
ran the
ran it.
charges up themselves
How so?
because what the feds didn't know, they added to it and added more to it that we didn't have none of, just to try to get out of jail. Because if you know, like one thing I remember from the beginning of my case, I had this brother named Ice that was on Boy George's case, and he told me, he said, Joe, look, before we finish this sentence, the rats gonna outrun us. And he went to explain. He was like, yo, look, every day they coming in, the rats is they pulling dudes over and trying to get on their case or explain to them a way to get off their case. So now that just made it more rats as it, more, rats as it came along. So now, every co-defendant that came in, you had somebody approaching them, oh, you on that case? Oh, yo, what I'm trying to say? So they trying to either find out what they can find out or trying to coach them into, because if they coach them into going down there to see the people, they get credit for that. So now the more they coach, that's the more they get. So now when you get in there, dudes is like, okay, I'm in here. I what I'm trying to say? They offer me 5 years, but I don't want to even do 2 years. You know what I'm saying? So therefore, that's what they doing. They trying to find their way out. You know what I'm saying? Because me and you can't run in the street for a certain amount of years, split money and all this shit, and claim we love each other and all the rest of the shit done been through thick and thin, and then you come in here and you decided, okay, in other words, you could have killed me when I was on the street. Why would you have these people kill me? Why would you stand on the death penalty knowing they gonna scrap me down and gonna fry me? You know what I'm saying? So I'm looking at it like, damn, son, you could have, I love you so much. You could have called me in the middle of the night and got me out the house and did something to me. Why would you do some shit like this? You know what I'm saying? Make it worse. Why would you let these people do it? You know what I mean? So like that's how it is in this federal system. And when I said it wasn't no physical evidence against me, that the feds don't need that no more, because they got their physical evidence is the person that's just, whether he make a story up or not. You know what I'm trying to say? As long as it's convincing and giving them what they want, that's what it is. You know what I'm saying? It just so happened that the first half came and they told their story but added so much in it that these people that came in the second time, they couldn't collaborate with it. You know what I'm trying to say? And they supposed to have been there on this, because that's how they came in. You know what I'm saying? So now they just get caught lying. You know what I'm saying?